up, everyone? Welcome back to the Charter Podcast, brought to you by St. Xavier University. Ruthie Polinsky, 𝗏𝗏, Alex Shapiro back with you. And we have a busy week ahead of us. We are taping this on Tuesday morning before the three of us head out to mandatory minicamp, which we are going to fully dive into, sort of a precursor. We'll set the stage, things we're looking for as we get ready to spend a couple of days out at Halas Hall. But before we get into mandatory minicamp, let's talk a little bit about some of the recent news, starting with the news of the day is that the Chicago Fire will be building a new stadium in the city of Chicago on the 78, at the 78, on the 78.
I think both work.
Okay. Completely privately funded. And the White Sox dreams of having a new stadium on that same location, you can kiss those goodbye. So, guys, your reaction, I think there are some little details here we can get into a bit, but I think it's a great thing for soccer. It's a great thing for the city of Chicago. If they can get this thing up and running and cooking, it's a great location, and I think would really help the Fire fans and just soccer fans in general.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. The 78 has just been this vacant lot for many, many, many years. There have been many attempts to develop something there. Not a lot has worked out. So hopefully this does work out. According to CHSN newsletter writer Gordon Edis, they are going to spend that entire $650 million to build a stadium. That's going to be out of their own money. They are going to ask for a little bit of public money to get the land ready for a stadium to be built. So there will be some public money involved, but it's not like this large public investment that maybe the White Sox were looking for to build a White Sox stadium there. So, I think it's exciting. It's a good thing. Right now, the Fire are leasing Soldier Field. They play there. They had gone out to the burbs for a little bit because they had previously played at Soldier Field. Now they're back at Soldier Field. This will give them a home of their own. And it raises more questions of, okay, now what is actually going to happen inside of Soldier Field once the Bears leave? Because the Bears are going to leave eventually. I think there had been some thoughts of like, oh, maybe the Fire could just like make this their spot. Nah, they're getting their own spot. So kind of a lot to dig into there with the Fire hoping to move to the 78.
Yeah, I mean, you guys said it. It shows that it is proof that you can get a stadium built, or at least headed towards that direction, in the city of Chicago, state of Illinois. So good for the Fire. Not much of a soccer guy myself. I stuck to American football, but interesting. It's good for Chicago. Good for the Fire.
This is cool. I'm just reading some of the stuff from the release of the stadium announcement. Joe Mansueto isn't building a soccer stadium. He's reshaping the future of soccer in Chicago, said the commissioner, Don Garber. This is one of the most ambitious stadium projects in Major League Soccer history and a powerful reflection of Joe's extraordinary commitment to the Fire, the fans, and the city. I toured the site recently, and there's no doubt that this will be a transformative moment for the club and a landmark for Chicago sports. So this could really, transform the way people view the Fire. Maybe it makes almost Chicago a more attractive destination for free agents, all the things. It's exciting. So kudos to the Fire. And we will still play the waiting game with the other teams in the city as they try to figure out what the heck they're going to do about their stadium needs. Let's get into other NFL news, guys. Big shocker announcement yesterday is that Lions center Frank Ragnow announced his retirement. And I love what David Haas said on our show, Clay. This is as big of a win for the Bears this offseason as any. You only play the Lions twice a year, David, unfortunately. And also, don't forget, the Bears have been pretty competitive with the Lions, even with Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn and Frank Ragnow. So I hear you that this is a big win for the Bears. Obviously, a shocker. This is someone who I think people were reporting that he was in a contract dispute. They were talking about getting him new money. And that's sort of just a big wow, I think, for not just Detroit Lions fans, for the Detroit Lions organization, maybe, and obviously for Bears fans here in Chicago. Clay, what's your reaction?
I think it's huge for the Lions. This is a huge loss. And like you said, David said, this is even bigger loss for them than losing Ben Johnson. I mean, it's even bigger loss than them losing Aaron Glenn. He was a mauler. He was a guy that had an attitude. He fit the Dan Campbell system to a T. He was a guy that was known around the league for his intelligence in picking out defense, setting that great offensive line. It all started with Frank Ragnow. This guy is the only NFL center to play 2,000 pass block snaps and allow less than 5 sacks since 2020. This is like taking prime Jason Kelce off of prime Philadelphia Eagles before they started winning championships. That's what it's akin to. Okay, this guy is that good. Yeah, Penei Sewell gets a lot of the love, but that offensive line, that leader, that go-to guy is Frank Ragnow. He just turned 29 years old. Just turned 29, Alex.
Yep.
You know, come on. This guy is in his prime. He played 15 to 16 games each of the last 3 seasons. He's been a Pro Bowler and an All-Pro player in both of the last 2 seasons. Pro Bowl, All-Pro, best center in the NFL last 2 seasons. This is huge loss for the Lions, that offensive line, and a team that is already going through a lot of issues with the departure of coaches, trying to set that
a lot of change,
a lot of change going around. Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting. And Alex, I'm curious to see, you know, your thoughts on that and how you feel they're going to be able to do losing their center, the guy that starts all their mic points, offensive line. It all starts with him. This big bulldog in the middle. Can Jared Goff stay as good without his center and his offensive coordinator, or do you expect to see a dip?
Alex, real quick, before you get to it, I just, going off of that, Clay, we know Ben Johnson prioritizes the center position when it comes to taking responsibility off of the quarterback's shoulders. So Ben Johnson has told us this. Detroit has said, we're basically running the same offense. It's going to be the same system. We're just, you know, it's a new play caller. So I think when you think about how important Frank Ragnow was to the success of Jared Goff, we're going to learn some things about Jared Goff potentially this year as well. And now, you know, there's some uncertainty at that center position. Is it a rookie that comes in? I think they drafted some.
Tate Ratledge from Georgia.
Tate Ratledge,
yeah,
he's
the
a
guy.
guard, though.
He's a guard.
I don't think he played center at Georgia.
And he's a rookie. And he's
Right.
a rookie. And you're trying to come in for Frank Ragnow.
Right. And another quick thing, Alex, I'm sorry to keep stealing your thunder here, but I think that's important. I think it's also important to note what David said on our show yesterday. He goes, if this would have happened at the end of the season, Drew Dahlman could have been a Lion. You know, Drew Dahlman may have been more attracted to a situation where they were, you know, closer to winning a Super Bowl. And so I think it's just, there are a lot of things that worked in the Bears' favor with the announcement and the timing of the announcement, Alex.
Absolutely. And no worries about stealing my thunder. You made excellent points, Ruthie. I couldn't have done it better myself. So don't worry about it. I think, yes, to kind of pick up on that thread, the timing is huge because not only does it affect free agency, it affects the draft. We just got done talking about Tate Ratledge. He is the interior offensive lineman that they drafted, but that dude is a guard. You know, that dude is a guard. He really has not played center at Georgia. If they know that Frank Ragnow is not in their plans, do they look elsewhere? Do they look for a guy who has center experience instead of going Tate Ratledge, who's a great player, but is a mystery at that position? I bet he's going to get some snaps there this summer to see if he can do it. But you can just see how the timing of it could really have affected their plans throughout. And then one more thing to underline is, Clay said it, 29 years old. This guy is in the prime of his career. 4 Pro Bowls, 3 All-Pros, quarterback of the offensive line. It is hard to understate how big this could be for the Lions, not just offensive line, the Lions offense.
Clay, anything to add there? Sorry, I thought you were going to jump in.
No, it's just Alex saying center is this special position. The guy calls the huddle. He breaks you down. You're breaking down. You're getting in the huddle. The point, everybody's looking at the center, where he's pointing, the mic point. That really relays the rest of the offense to the rest of the players, right? He's going to switch it. He's going to make a call. Roger, Larry, we're switching the mic point. There's a lot of stuff that you have to see as a center and a guy to his caliber that sets you up. Okay, he says, Roger, so now we're moving the point here. Okay, now I got this safety. That means he's saying this safety, this nickel's about to blitz. So now I'm looking over. There's a lot that goes into playing center, and that's why it's become a position that has become so coveted. Obviously, we saw what the Bears paid Drew Dahlman. The center used to be this position. Just get a center, a journeyman, or whatever, and we'll just get 2 good bookend tackles. We'll be fine. No, center is important, especially for your quarterback. And when you don't have a mobile quarterback, if you can dent the pocket from the inside, it's really going to make Jared Goff play a little bit different. He's a guy, I wrote this stat down somewhere. I'll find it real fast after. I'll send it over to you in a second, Ruthie. But when Jared Goff is kept clean, he's first in the league in QBR when he's not under pressure. When he's under pressure, he's 27th in the league in QBR. That's the difference in Jared Goff. So if there's even a 50% drop off from the best center in the league to a rookie, maybe even 25%, that's huge because Jared Goff isn't the most fleet of foot quarterback, and he's not going to be able to play the same if he doesn't got that offensive line in front of him.
I'll take it a step further. It's not just Jared Goff. That offense is predicated on the run game, right? They are so good at creating holes and moving the line of scrimmage for Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, where it's just like, all right, we're going to get 4 yards, and we're going to be running the ball, and then bam, we hit with the play action. And that's how they keep defenses on their heels, right? It's that amazing run game. You take your center out of the mix, the guy who is working the point of attack in the middle or, doing all these different things, as you said, saying, what'd you use? I always heard, you said Larry. I've heard laser.
Yeah, laser, Roger,
laser,
Larry,
left, Roger,
anything
right,
with an R and an L.
And an L.
I've heard it all.
Exactly. Making those calls about like, we're going left, we're going right.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, huge. So not only keeping Jared Goff clean, the Lions were so good at keeping him clean. That offensive line protected him so well. Also, that run game, so good. Jahmyr Gibbs gets all the love because he scores the touchdowns. He makes the plays. It starts up front with those guys making big holes for him.
If the Lions aren't this, juggernaut that I think we've seen the last couple of years, of course, it helps when they play the Bears twice a year, but it also helps with the division and the way things might shake out. And maybe there's more parity in the division than we anticipated. And obviously, we know how competitive the division is with the Vikings and Green Bay. But I think if the Lions aren't this like sure thing, gonna win the division, as even though, the Vikings took us all, I think, by surprise last year with Sam Darnold, but the Vikings have a new quarterback. Is, Jordan Love going to take that next jump? Are the Lions going to be the same with 2 new coordinators and without their, like, the anchor of their offensive line, which was in a lot of ways the strength of their entire team? So it's exciting, I think, because when you look at the way that the standings could shake out, you look at those late games, those late division games, and how meaningful those could potentially be for the Bears and for anyone in the division. It really gets you sort of juiced up, I would say, for the way the season could potentially shake out and the competition that we could see, and maybe gives the Bears a little bit more wiggle room, right, to figure things out with a new head coach, new play caller, new defense, and of course, Caleb Williams trying to take that next jump as well. So juiced up, I would say, is the way I would describe my mentality about this team so far. I've had this is my first cup of coffee today.
Oh, cheers.
We will have more.
Hey, Alex, is that your first cup?
I am running low here.
I'm rocking Leafs Cafe. What else is everybody else rocking?
Chicago Bulls. I bought this with Ruthie Polinsky as we were in the United Center, and it was a sale, and we went in there. Yeah.
What is the F for, Ruthie?
Freed is my last.
Yeah.
Freed is my married last name. I go by Ruthie Polinsky, but Freed is my last name. F for Freed.
F for the grades I used to get.
Mrs. Freed is my Mrs. Freed is my my
Your
mother.
civilian name?
No, it's my mother-in-law. Okay. Who I love dearly. Let's get into minicamp, guys. Mandatory, Clay. I asked you very frankly on our show last night. I said, Clay, what's the biggest difference between OTAs and mandatory minicamp? And you looked me dead in the eye and you said, Ruthie, it's mandatory. I said, okay, got it. Thank you. That's really the biggest difference. Obviously, we're going to see some guys that weren't there last week. Jalen Johnson wasn't there. Some guys are out due to injury. We'll see if they're back this week. I think that's a big storyline, just as a precursor. But what are you guys looking for? And I'll just kind of set this table here. I'm really looking forward to having 3 consecutive days available to the media where we get to be out there and hopefully from day to day to day see progress, right? Like I want to see it look and feel better by Thursday, because we were seeing it last week. You know, one time it was like, oh, we just installed our offense yesterday. And we're like, okay, well, that makes sense that Ben Johnson's freaking out. The next week it's like, oh, well, we're working on 2-minute now for the first time. You know, it's like, okay, well, it makes sense that he's freaking out. So there are some things that, like, when you're only seeing it in spurts, you're just like not totally sure how to evaluate the progress, because you're not totally sure what's new that day. We're going to see 3 straight days of, okay, how does this look? And obviously, I think in particular, we're going to be looking at the offense and the quarterback getting in and out of the huddle. Is Ben Johnson yelling at everyone, making guys get back in the huddle and line up again? You know, there's a lot that I think we'll be able to tell from Tuesday to Thursday. Alex, what are you looking for?
Yeah, so I agree. Having 3 practices in a row to watch is huge, rather than one disjointed practice, a week off, and then another like, okay, we're doing new stuff. So I agree with you entirely there, Ruthie. Because it's mandatory, as Clay told you earlier, we're also going to get more clarity on like who's hurt, who's here, right? Jalen Johnson wasn't in attendance last week. He often takes this part of the year, one of those OTAs, to go hang out with his daughter in Fresno. Not worried about it. It's something he often does. More power to you. Enjoy that time with your daughter, Jalen. He should be back. But guys like Ryan Bates, who also we didn't see him on the practice field. Now we're going to get some more clarity. Was that because you were similarly doing your own thing, or are you hurt? Luther Burden, a guy who missed time, I expected like he was probably there and hurt. TJ Edwards, we knew he was hurt. Other cornerbacks, right? The second quarterback position was like Nahshon Wright, because there was no Zay Frazier and there was no Terrell Smith. Are those guys now there because they're here, or are they dealing with something? So we get clarity on all of that stuff. And then one more thing before I kick it to you, Clay, is this left tackle thing. How is this continuing to evolve? Ben Johnson mentioned musical chairs of that position until Braxton Jones gets healthy. Are we back to Karan Amagaji as the starting left tackle? Is it going to go Karan, Ozzie, Karan over the 3 days? Or is it going to be Karan for this stretch, and then maybe it'll be Ozzie for the next block of 3 practices? Or are we going to see a new guy enter the mix, right? Ben Johnson basically said, we are happy to leave Darnell Wright where he is at right tackle. He plays very well there. He left the door open. I expect they will only give him a look unless they are unhappy with what's happening at left tackle. Will we see Darnell Wright get any time there as like an indication that like, okay, these first 2 things we're not super happy with. Let's take a look at what Darnell looks like here and Ozzie looks like it right, or what Karan looks like it right. So those are the main things. I'm going to tack on one more, just more DJ Moore stuff. What are you guys doing with DJ Moore? We saw him play in the slot a little bit last week. Are they going to do anything else more with DJ Moore besides outside? I mean, like he almost always played outside previously. The slot stuff is new. Are they going to add anything more to his play to see how it looks? So sorry, I said I was going to kick it to you after left tackle. I added one more thing, but no.
So Alex is looking at everything. It would have been simpler to say, I'm looking at everything. Yeah. What are you looking at, Alex? For OTAs? Everything. All right, great. Perfect. No. Firstly, I think we got to start at the quarterback position. We're going to get to see 3 straight days of Caleb, right? Is this guy improving? Caleb's had some ups and downs in the couple practices we've been able to see. He's had some misses. He's had some interceptions. He's also shown that, incredible ability to roll out, throw a ball rolling to his left and hit the guy right in his hand. He's also shown the ability to hit 𝗂𝗏𝗏 streaking down the center of the field. He's also shown the ability to hit Rome Odunze on the deep cross. But I want to start seeing that a little bit more consistently. I want to start seeing less and less stoppages of the offense when they're in the huddle. Is he getting this offense? Is he getting the play call in? Is he delivering it? Is he getting to the line of scrimmage? That's something that should be starting to take shape right now. And you shouldn't have your coach say, F that, get back in the huddle, recall the play. You should be seeing less and less of that, from Ben Johnson. I'm also looking for, besides Caleb, I think it's interesting, is that number 2 quarterback competition, 𝗗cie 𝗰𝗶𝗹 who's the 𝗵𝗀𝗀, who's going to get the most reps there? Is it still 𝗗cie 𝗰𝗶𝗹? If Luther Burden is healthy, I think that's something that's interesting. Hopefully we can get a chance to see how he works with Rome and DJ. I'm curious to see how that goes when you put him into the mix there at receiver. 𝗂𝗏𝗏 is a guy that I thought has been having a couple of OTAs that we were able to see. He's showing his versatility, that he's not just a guy that you stick on the end of the line of scrimmage and say, hey, you block him, you run this out route, you run this seam route. No, he's going in motion. He's lining up outside. He's lining up in the slot. He's doing a lot of different things and showing that he can be a piece that can be utilized in tandem with Colston Loveland, your 10th overall pick. So now you're going to start giving these offensive coordinators headaches. I'm still curious to see if they're going to switch anybody in with the Sam linebacker, Noah Sewell. We haven't got to see TJ Edwards at Mike yet. I think TJ's been out a little. The second practice we saw, the first practice was all Tremaine. Tremaine did have some nice plays with the tip ball and then the interception. The tip ball led to the interception. So those are the things that I'm looking for. Like, try to see if there's anything else there. Running back, it's hard to see. I mean, that's something we're going to have to wait to training camp to really see the competition heat up. I know the fans are really curious to see if there's somebody that's going to stand out there. It's just hard to tell with no pads on in these drills. We're not going to be able to see a lot of running back. We're not going to be able to see a lot of some of those other positions. The offensive line, obviously, Alex already said, left tackle is going to be interesting. But Ruthie, let's kick it over to you. Even though you already gave us a little something, are there any position battles that you're looking for?
I think it's so hard to tell. I will say this, with TJ Edwards out last week, he's dealing with soft tissue, Ben Johnson told us. Also, Kyler Gordon dealing with soft tissue. Is he back out there? I was really happy to see a lot of juice, which seems to be a theme of this episode, a lot of juice from Tremaine Edmonds. I felt like he was all over the ball in the last OTA that we got to watch. Like, he was just there, which is cool. Caleb, want to see him get rid of the ball, want to see him get in and out of the huddle. I want to see, I know DJ Moore has had a few flashy highlight moments, but I just want to see the ball going to him more. And I know there are only so many reps and so many moments, but that is your wide receiver 1. I want to see him clearly establish himself. And I want to see that relationship between DJ and Caleb really flourish, because don't forget, guys, all last year we were Caleb and DJ, where's the chemistry? What's going on? And then I think I'm really I love watching Rome Odunze on and off the field. But just to see him sort of earn the credibility from the new coaching staff so quickly has been really cool to see. And I just like watching him play. He's consistent. He looks bigger to me. I don't know, he's put on some weight. I don't know. This is me just maybe being I haven't seen these guys in 6 months, but just feels like he's sort of bulked up a bit, which I think is good and exciting. What else am I looking at? How about running backs? I mean, Kawanungai, are you going to try and beat out Roschon Johnson? Like you said, Clay, it's sort of hard for those guys to do that right now, with no pads. And Roschon's this guy that's sort of just a downhill bowling ball type runner, hard for him to sort of really stand out without pads on. I'm wondering if we can really garner some, solidity and Swift. Is he really the guy? Are they going to continue to look to add pieces in that room? And yeah, obviously the left tackle, backup quarterback, I think is really interesting. 𝗗cie 𝗰𝗶𝗃's going to be on this team. No one's concerned about 𝗗cie 𝗰𝗃 not making this roster. So it's just a matter of who is QB2. How about little special teams? Who's returning? You know, obviously we know they added Devin Duvernay, who's a Pro Bowl returner, but I also am curious to see, you know, who are the other options? Is, you know, I think I saw Tyreek Stevenson back there at some point. Cairo Santos, how does he look? You know, my guy Torrey Taylor, he's gonna be booting it. He's gonna be kicking that ball real far.
Luther Burden, maybe, if he gets healthy. I think he's a guy that they should. I mean, I know he's your second round pick, but in this situation, Ruthie, when you have so many weapons, you have Loveland, you have DJ, you have Rome, you got to find ways to get the ball in the hands of these guys that are playmakers.
Yeah.
Luther Burden might go a couple of games where he's getting 3 targets a game just because, look, you got Rome and DJ and Colston and Cole out there, and you're not – if you can get 3 more touches on punt return, break a 20-yard punt return, maybe you break a change of field position. Those are important things. So
yeah,
I would be open to putting Luther Burden at punt returner as well.
You just reminded me of one other thing, Clay, that we talked about a bit on our show. I am very much looking forward to, I'm hoping we hear from Cole Kmet this week. How is he handling, you know, the Bears drafting essentially what some are calling his replacement? I see Colston Loveland as an addition to Cole Kmet, but it's obviously, Clay, you've told us from firsthand experience, you're always looking to see if your team is drafting your position. Like, that is just what you do as a player. Colston Loveland, obviously younger, more versatile than Cole potentially, and obviously someone who can be really dynamic in the passing game. So I'm really interested to see kind of Cole Kmet's mentality. This is someone who's been through a lot with the Chicago Bears and has seen a lot of change and a lot of ups and downs, a lot of preseason hype. How is he handling the Ben Johnson era? Like, is he buying in, or is he kind of like, hey, let's wait and see? You know, like, we got a lot to learn and we got to be a lot better.
I believe he was the first contract extension that Poles gave to like a pace guy, sure. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't discount that as well. Like, that's the first guy he identified and said, hey, we want to keep you around. That's a big deal.
And that also brings me to another thing I'll be looking for as we kind of head into, you know, this week, few more OTAs, then we get to the summer break, then we get into training camp. What I'll be looking for over the next, let's call it 3 months. Who are the leaders? I don't want to see 8 captains. Who are the strong leaders? Who is establishing themselves as someone with a voice? Who can bring the guys into a room and say, we sucked today. Like, go home and get in your playbooks. We know Ben Johnson's doing that, but who are the players that are going to call each other out and like really hold each other accountable? That's really important. This is maybe an appropriate platform for me to share this, but I was watching yesterday, David Andrews, who I covered in New England, retired, and they had a big retirement ceremony for him up in Foxborough. Clay, you know him well. And they did a farewell video for David Andrews. And it was players, former teammates, guys that he had, you know, been very close with, who all came retired on new teams, have come and gone over the years and played with David Andrews over his 10-year career. Joe Thuney was in the video, by the way. I was watching this video and I covered all of those guys in that video except for one. And I was watching the video. One by one, they go, guys wishing David Andrews well in his retirement, congratulating him. And I'm watching this video. I'm like, every single guy on that video was a legend. Like, Devin McCourty, Julian Edelman, Gronk, Tom Brady, Joe Thuney, Trey Flowers, Jason McCourty, Duron Harmon, guys, all of these guys I covered, I'm like, those were legends and they were leaders. Like, they were strong presences. Those were the guys that you went into the locker room. There was never a day where we're like, who are we going to talk to today? Like, you wanted to hear from all of those guys every day because they had such insightful, powerful things to say that were going to teach you something about what happened that day, or we're going to send a message to either their teammates, to the media, to the public. in a very structured, patriot, do your job sort of way, where it wasn't a distraction, but they were just calling each other out. And I'm watching this video, I'm like, obviously Joe Thuney's on the Bears now, but he's more of the quiet leader. Right. I was watching, I'm like, dang, I'm like, who on the Bears is gonna be like this? Like, I'm trying to put it in my head, like, who in 5 years can I watch a video and say, man, I covered all those guys and they were such a huge part of the reason that team was successful. You hope there are many of them. You hope it's the young guys. You hope it's a Rome Odunze. You hope it's 𝗂𝗏𝗶𝗹. Tom Brady was also in the video, by the way, guys. I'm not ignoring Tom. But like, you hope there are guys that can establish themselves as a Julian Edelman one day, or as a Rob Gronkowski. And Gronk, he's goofy in the video and he's being Gronk, but like everyone followed Gronk's, sort of behavior and the way he took care of himself and his work habits. Like those were guys that were just such, key core puzzle pieces to keep it all together. Yeah. And that's what I really want to see established. Yeah. I'll be curious, Clay. Jonah Jackson is someone that Ben Johnson has talked about a lot. I'm wondering if he'll be sort of a voice. Obviously, we know Grady Jarrett, I think, is someone that can come in and really be that vocal leader. Is there anyone that stands out to you guys as like, man, that's someone that like, I really want to see them sort of step up and be a leader?
I'll start. Yeah. Jalen Johnson is right there. And he has started doing that. When his first few years, when he was still playing really, really good football, he kind of took a back seat to guys like Eddie Jackson, who was that guy. Last year, he took a step in that direction. I think this is a year where he can really cement himself as a vocal leader. I think we're starting to see the beginnings of that with a guy like Gervon Dexter, who has definitely taken ownership.
Montez Sweat called him a leader.
Montez Sweat called him a leader. He's organizing the guys together, is what Grady Jarrett told us. Going back to the combine, when I was talking with players, who were at Florida, when I mentioned Gervon Dexter, I mean, their eyes would light up and they would be so excited to talk about him and be like, oh, that's my guy. He brought the group together. Again, leader. When we talk with Sean Spencer, who was his guy, right? We're talking to Sean Spencer about Shamar Turner. He's talking about, I'm still in touch with Gervon Dexter because that's my guy because he was so important. So Gervon is a guy who I look to. Jaquan Brisker is interesting. Jaquan Brisker, I think, wants to be that guy. Is very loud, is very vocal. But the injuries, him not being able to be on the field, have maybe gotten in the way of him being able to like marry those two things together of being impact player and vocal leader. So I think there's an opportunity for Jaquan Brisker as well. And then on offense, I mean, it begins and ends with Caleb Williams, as you said. I'll throw Drew Dahlman out there. I don't know a whole lot about Drew Dahlman. He has a big opportunity in front of him. For me personally, when I've needed a quote or I've needed an explanation or I've needed something from the offensive line, I think Braxton Jones has actually been very forthcoming, takes enormous accountability, does not throw his teammates under the bus. Like, he has been a good voice for me personally. And then also Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet is another guy who has always faced the music, always talked real, even recently been like, listen, I've been a part of a lot of Bears teams with a lot of hype and we haven't done much. So we just got to win football games.
Yeah.
So those are the first guys that come to mind for me as guys who have like a real opportunity to become the real leaders of this football team.
And a lot of this comes with, Clay, and you can speak to this, having played with a lot of those guys that I just mentioned. A lot of that legendary sort of like leadership comes with winning, right? And it comes with success. Like, that's a huge part of, putting it all together and looking back on those teams and saying, wow, those guys. And I think Jalen Johnson's a really good example of that. Like, if they were winning, you would look back and be like, Jalen was a big reason and was a big, like, sort of rah guy and like kind of helped rally the troops. I think because there was such turmoil last year, some of the speaking from the players, not even to us in the locker room, but on the radio or on podcasts or doing all those things, that almost turned into distractions because they were losing. So obviously all of this comes with success.
Yeah, like you said, I want to see more touchdowns and podcasts this year. And I think winning comes from the leadership starts with like the coaches too. Like they're a big part of it. And I think they got some really good leaders that are coaches. Randall L, obviously Ben is a guy that we've got a chance to see and interact and even talk to in these press conferences. But he's a leader. Randall L, Al Harris. I mean, you could go down this big enemy. You can go down this coaching staff and just Dennis Allen and just see the leadership there. And I think that then it obviously goes to players. And I don't want a guy that's, going out and talking trash on the radio, even if it is something that's wrong. Keep that in house, clean it up, go to the person man to man. We don't need to hear about it on your podcast or on your radio show that you do every week and create more drama in the locker room. Figure that stuff out. Take a lesson from Joe 𝗬𝗎. Nobody's going to hear a peep from Joe 𝗬𝗎 this year. He is just going to show up. He is going to work hard, and he is going to get his job done, and he's going to take guys under his wing and show them how to do things right. To me, that's what leadership is. Watch an old Tom Brady press conference. Like he's on the sidelines, he's chewing you out. He is firing you up. He is doing he is not throwing anybody under the bus ever. You could have a guy drop a big pass in a big moment, would never say anything about these guys. That's the type of leadership I want. I think it's important for Caleb to earn the respect of his teammates so you can be that leader. I think it is important when your quarterback is that leader. And I think I've been a part of teams where that's been the case when it hasn't, like in Jacksonville. Blaine Gabbert never became a leader. Like Blake was ascending to a leader when I left Jacksonville, but he was never really that guy that everybody just followed, knew they were all in. Also got to play with guys like Matt Stafford, a leader, bringing everybody in at 6 a.m. All right, we're watching this tape for an hour before even special teams meetings. Okay, like guys like that, you respect them. You go on the field. We came back like 5 games in a row after being down 10 points, and you just knew Staff was going to do everything he could and make this offense, make us go down the field and score some points. And in the huddle, it's just this calming presence of let's go. We're going to do everything right. I know what to do. You know what to do. We can get the job done, and that's what I kind of want for Caleb. And they did say he was even watching a little bit of Matt Stafford tape, I heard, to kind of show like what he could be capable of doing. But great leader.
Clay, to put something in context and just to give you a giggle here, imagine if when you were playing in New England, like, I'm trying to think of an example, like Danny Amendola came out and was like, yeah, we just want to be coached harder. Like, we just want to be coached harder. Like, I don't know why the coaches aren't coaching us harder. Like they're just listen, I think there's not going to be any of that this year. I really hope there's because we know that in New England, there was an emphasis on your message to the media matters. Obviously it's great for us and drama and fun and whatever, but winning locker rooms don't create distractions through the media, and they're actually quite boring with us. So I think that's we want to, like you said, Clay, more touchdowns than podcasts in 2025. Yeah. That's our slogan. Hashtag. Yeah.
Unless it's a podcast with CHSN.
Unless
in which case...
anyone wants to come on here and stir some shit up. No. Just kidding. Can I say that? I'm sorry, I cursed.
You can.
He's going to be mad at me. All right, guys. That was fun. I'm going to see you guys in about an hour up at Mandatory Minicamp. We will, not an hour.
2 hours.
2 hours.
2 hours.
And we'll have a blast, and we'll recap it all sometime later this week. I think we're going to have fun. If you guys, listeners, viewers, if you guys have things you want us to look for this week, like, let us know. We could do a little mailbag situation. Hey, what'd you guys think of X, Y, and Z? Or, hey, is Luther Burden out there? You'll know on Twitter, because that's the way the world works. But we could talk about it. Thanks so much for listening to the Charter Podcast, brought to you by St. Xavier University. I'm going to chill on the coffee. I'm a little like...
You're great. I love this.
Okay.
10 a.m. coffee, Ruthie energy. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. Haven't even worked out yet, Clay. Don't be mad at me.
Yeah, that's okay.
I will, though. At some
Just
point.
don't eat a bagel for breakfast.
Throwing shade before we came on. Clay got mad at Alex for eating a bagel in cream cheese because there was no protein in his breakfast. So
Eggs,
every
guys.
day of my life. That's my breakfast every day of my life.
just
All right,
add a
hey.
little,
Add some
eggs
eggs in there.
Actually, at the United Center, when I'm at the UC, they do have oatmeal and berries, which is really nice. Is there protein in oatmeal, Clay?
Not the protein you want. Sorry.
Damn.
I'd even stay away from the protein or the oatmeal for breakfast. Protein.
What?
Yes.
Oatmeal's good. Oatmeal's good for like a little snack pre-workout if you're going to eat protein after, right, Clay?
Yes. Ruthie
What if
goes
the
for
last time you worked out was in like February of 2021?
Okay, maybe we won't worry about the protein.
I'm just joking.
Yeah. We'll
Anyways,
fix that. Yeah.
we're not workout shaming anyone who's listening.
No.
But
definitely
if
not.
you are a fan of
But
Clay
in the
Harbor,
gym. No, I'm just kidding.
if you're a fan of Clay Harbor, you know that is what we talk about a lot of the time. So it's fun.
Working
Guys,
out in
great
football,
stuff.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, working out and football and eating protein. Clay
Yeah.
eats 5 eggs every morning. It's insane.
Or
It makes
6.
me actually kind of like
That's an
gag.
expensive habit, Clay.
Yeah. Eggs
In
aren't
today's
cheap.
economy?
They're going down. They're going down. Yeah.
You know what's good is I sometimes, Clay, will do 2 eggs and I buy the carton of egg whites, which I know is like gross, but it just, then you're not
I do it
wasting sort of the
sometimes.
nutrients that come. So I add some egg whites into my 2 eggs because like I don't need all that fat.
The yolks
and
is all
other stuff
cholesterol.
in the-
Yeah.
The
Good
what?
cholesterol.
The yolks is all cholesterol. Who needs it?
I know, but it's good, healthy fats,
It's
right, Clay?
healthy fats, healthy cholesterol. Cholesterol is a myth created. We'll talk about this, Alex.
Oh, I can hear that.
Big cardiologist? You're
This is
telling me
now
I've
all
been
of a
lied to
sudden-
by big cardiologist?
The Charter Podcast, a health podcast. No. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. We promise not to bore you this much next time. We will see you later this week.